Hello, in this video I'd like to talk about how to construct this status bar that updates as we scroll down the page. This particular task is a great introduction to some of the measurements we can take on a page in JavaScript and how we can use that to update the scale of elements. Okay, our setup is exactly where we left off at the end of the last video. So the first thing we need to do is create and style our progress bar. And so what I'm going to do is I have at the very top of my page here, I'm going to toggle this on and off, I have a div. I'm going to call it, I'm going to give it a class of progress bar. And then there's also this other class of progress bar white, which we'll get to in a later video. So then in CSS, what I want this to be fixed, so to stay in position as we scroll down the page. We can give it a height. I can make it a little bigger if I like. And then for now, the width is just going to be 100% of the viewport. And then we'll have a background color, a transition, and a z-index that I have kind of cranked up just to ensure that it's always on top of everything. And we can't actually see this background color because I have this other class down here somewhere. This one. I'm just going to turn this off for now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to need is the pixel scrolled. So we did this actually in the last one, and I could build this whole behavior in the scroll event, but I'm going to keep things modular so that you can kind of copy and paste it into your own sites, and also it just makes it a little easier to talk about. So we're going to call this progress bar, and I'll copy and paste this, and we just need that. So those are pixel scrolled, same thing. So it's just a number of how far down the page we've traveled. So this fact is going to be some kind of measurement of how far we've scrolled and then expressed as a percentage. So this number over here is how far down the page we scrolled. Unfortunately, if I look up the height of the page itself, so let's do that for a second. So first we'll get the body tag because the body is the whole visible page. Then within that body tag, we're going to pull a new thing. So it's body tag get bounding client rect. I mean, I can't remember any of that, but basically it has to do with the measurements of the body tag. And then we'll do that to dot height. And we'll save this as a variable. So const page height equals. Then we'll log that. So when we get to the bottom of the page here, we can see that these two numbers don't match. The actual page height is bigger than the distance we scrolled, and that's because the scroll stops when we get to the top of the window. So the next thing we're going to need is the height of the window, and if we can subtract that from the page height and compare it to the pixel scrolled, we'll have our ratio. So that number is, we'll just look at it real quick, console.log window, so not the document, the window, dot inner height. 370. And if let's just put this out of the way for a second. If I do this, they should match, right? So whatever I do over here should match. So then what we need to do is subtract one window height from the page height. And that we'll call constant total scrollable distance. That is going to equal this minus that. And so then what we'll do is we'll put this over here, turn our original pixel scroll back on. What we're hoping for is that at the bottom of the page, the two match. Awesome. Okay, so let's just do a little housekeeping here, and then we'll take the next step. So now we can express the scroll as a percentage. So let's do that. And that is going to equal pixels scrolled divided by the total scrollable distance. And then once again, test. Console log. And what we're looking for is a number from 0 to 1. And 0 at the top, 1 at the bottom. Awesome. So then all we need to do is grab our bar, which is way up here. So we'll say const progress tag equals document, and we'll use class equals progress bar, a dot, and then go over here dot style dot width equals, and what we need to do is use a special syntax to have this work, because we're taking a value here and converting it into CSS. And so to do that, you do these little backwards ticks things, a number sign, a percentage. We'll do this, we'll turn this whole thing percentage. And right now we know it's 0 to 1, so it's going to be times 100. And then we'll do percent. The curly brackets. Here we go. There it is. Nice. So let me just go over this one more time because it's pretty confusing. I'll just zoom in. Okay, so we can't just plug in the math here because this has to turn this into a string in CSS. So the trick for that is use these backticks, number sign, curly brackets. Then we pull our variable, multiply it by 100, add a percent, and then close that off. So that's just one you're probably going to want to like copy and paste. Okay, but if we look at this, it works.